Alrighty, so good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you all for joining us for How to Ace a Virtual Interview with National Sales Network Chicago chapter and our proud sponsors at Johnson & Johnson. We are excited to have Cheryl Greenfield and Stephanie Reagan from J&J Talent Acquisition Team and thank them for leading us through this workshop as we explore the all-important skill of interviewing, especially in this digital space. At National Sales Network, our mission is to provide networking, career, and professional development opportunities, such as this workshop, for diverse sales and sales management professionals and all of us in the room who are just looking to improve our sales skills. We invite you to be engaging throughout this event by using the chat box and ask questions throughout that I'll be sure to address towards the end of the presentation. Thank you again for joining us. Cheryl and Stephanie, I will turn it over to you.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Taylor, for that introduction. I'm going to go ahead and share, get my screen going. So, Cheryl, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Let's see. Still waiting. There we go. So, thank you, everyone, for chiming in and joining us today. We are super duper excited. Just because not only are we going through some times that we will all remember in the history of our lives and be able to tell our family members for generations, we're in a very, very unique space right now when it comes to interviewing and just connecting with other people. We're all in, it seems like, in this bubble, and we're using our digital know-hows to get through life now. So no longer are we doing the face-to-face, we're doing everything digital. So Stephanie and I are extremely excited to present to you today keys, tips, tricks on how to ace your virtual interview. We know that getting in front of the camera can be daunting, and what we want to ask is that you just kind of lean into this process, lean into the learnings. Some of it will be new, some of it will be things that you've heard before or utilized before, but our goal is to definitely send you away today with a new perspective and a new outlook on how you conduct a virtual interview.
Mm-hmm. So we'll start with a brief introduction of who we are. I'm going to introduce you to Cheryl and have the honor to do so. Cheryl is a senior talent acquisition specialist here at Johnson & Johnson. She has been with Johnson & Johnson's talent acquisition department for 3 years now, supporting North America field sales. Cheryl and I actually are both right now on rotation supporting our R&D and engineering team, and we'll apply those learnings and bring them back to the field sales just to help not only our businesses but also candidates throughout the process and how R&D and engineering conduct their processes. She is an active participant in a variety of projects with a focus on diversity and inclusion initiatives. In total, Cheryl actually has 17 years of combined experience in sales, HR, and recruitment, and has been active with NSN out of her home base of Atlanta for the past 5 years. Cheryl is a graduate from Shorter College with a bachelor's in business administration, and she comes from Jackson, Mississippi. And a very fun fact about Cheryl is that she is a certified personal trainer and professional bodybuilder, and really just an overall amazing person that, and you'll see this dynamic throughout this conversation today.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephanie. That's why I love her so much, guys, because she says good things about me. So, and Stephanie, my super duper, she's superwoman. She's my partner, and I'm learning so much from her. So Stephanie and I are both co-leads for NSN. Stephanie is a talent acquisition specialist. She beats me by miles and miles with her 9+ years of experience with Johnson & Johnson. 8 years of that has been as a senior territory business manager in Insight Sales, and that was with our Johnson & Johnson Vision Care division. She has 7 years of experience with CSI Companies. That's a national recruiting firm, and she worked as a business development manager. She graduated from the University of Florida with a degree in public relations. Uh, she was born in Niles, Ohio, raised in Palm Bay, Florida. Doesn't that sound beautiful? And she resides with her husband and son in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, a fun fact about Stephanie is that when she did interview with J&J 10 years ago, she actually collapsed following her last interview. Her final interview, she fell out. So I'm not telling you that to say that you're going to go through this rigorous
No.
interview session and they're going to kill you and actually make you fall out. But what I'm saying is that, Stephanie got the job and she's still here. So bad news or bad things don't always yield bad results. I mean, she fell out, but she got the job. So.
Yeah.
And she's still here. So very happy to work with Stephanie. She's been an amazing partner.
Yeah, key learning there. And the reason we bring that up is I didn't eat before my interview like a dummy, and eat before your interviews, hydrate, like you're going to a marathon. The interview was not difficult. In fact, when we were done, I knew I got it. You just get that feeling after you have a really great rapport with a panel and a really great rapport. And I think in just complete, relief, I just kind of collapsed. And then I was like, oh, great. Now I haven't done it. And I think it just goes to show things are going to happen throughout a process. Address them as they go, be agile, and you'll be fine. And eat. So just in talking through kind of some house rules we wanted to lay down is please open your cameras and get comfortable with this new normal, this new process. Is it weird talking to a camera? Yes, but we know y'all are Instagram storing and Facebook storing, so we know you're somewhat comfortable doing it. So just get comfortable. If you're not currently on the camera now, open it up. We don't care what you look like. This is just a conversation right now. Feel free to be comfortable. Cheryl?
Absolutely. And as Taylor mentioned earlier, please use the chat box to ask any questions, to provide any comments. Stephanie and I are going to be diligent in trying to get through the material we have here. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation.
Yep. And, participate. Let us know if there's a specific area of concern, something you might struggle with. This is us presenting, but at the end, we want to help. So we'll provide at the end some ways that we can help, but at the same time, just know that this is an open forum.
And we're going to remind you to mute your lines, even though we've already assisted you with that. So just a reminder, keep your lines muted. Thank you.
Perfect. So just kind of an agenda to level set for the remainder of our time. We're going to talk about a little icebreaker. We're going to go through the objective of the day, talk about, what you can do to prepare for your virtual or digital interview. Talk about how your resume really plays into that format of a visual or a virtual interview. Talk about the interview itself, the good, the bad, what to be cognizant of. Talk about proper ways to follow up following your interview. Open up for questions and answers, suggestions, concerns, and then provide some contact information as well as some opportunities for next steps with Johnson & Johnson.
Now, what we're going to do just to get started is just present you with a quick icebreaker. We all know that interviewing is just like giving a presentation, and preparation is key. But what you're bringing to the interview and when you really think through what happens when you're prepping for an interview and you actually go through the interview and are sitting in the interview, we've got content, we've got delivery, and we've got body language. So when you think about these three areas, we'd like to know, in order of importance to you, how would you rank the following when it relates to interviewing? So take a couple of seconds, make some comments in the chat box and tell us how you would rank each of these areas: content, delivery, and body language.
Keep going. Keep going.
You take the rest of it, Stephanie.
No. Special skills, not a singer.
I didn't want to have to hit that high note. So let's take a look at the next slide.
Woo.
I see some folks chiming in, but we're going to take a look at the next slide here, and we will address all of the answers at the end of the session. So Shelley Bumberger, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of her before. She is a professional career counselor and coach. She takes people through interviews and counsels them through, just getting to the next level, resume writing and things like that, and just moving through the interview process as a whole. You'll be surprised, as I was, to learn that the presentation equation consists of delivery, content, and body language. And what's most important, or what ranks most, is body language. So you can take time, you can put your resume together, you can present your resume. Just understand that that content weighs 7%, okay? It's ranked at 7%. Your body language throughout your interview is going to rank the highest at 55%. And then the delivery is 38%. So this goes to show that your resume is going to get looked at. Your resume gets you in. Once you get in, it's all about your delivery and your body language. That is what's going to seal the deal for you. Next slide.
So today we're going to, again, I think those are all really great points because it's really going to hone in on what we're going to talk about today, the importance of body language, preparation, getting back. So again, objectives following up are preparation, how you can ace that interview, and then follow up. So focusing on preparation. As you can see from this stock photo, it's a clean background. It's somebody who has a camera at eye level. It's somebody who is buttoned up, who's prepared, ready to go, decluttered. So it's just one way of really looking at, how you should prepare for an interview. But just to kind of give you, an overview of some things. So focus from the beginning on the research. Understand the company you're interviewing for. Google is your friend for a multitude of things. For one, everybody's probably got a LinkedIn page and all companies have one. Start following them. Understand, are they in the news right now? What are they in the news for? What are their products? How many employees do they have? Are they, local? Are they regional? Are they global like Johnson & Johnson? Understand the company you're interviewing for and start to understand what that culture promotes. Research the hiring manager. Again, going back to LinkedIn, utilize that. If they're not on LinkedIn for whatever reason, and the majority of our managers, I would say, are, Google them. Find out, if you can have relatable education, relatable location, just anything that you can help kind of tie together. And then job description. So we bring this up because when you go for an interview, it's important that you know what the duties and the job description are. For Johnson & Johnson, we post our jobs for a minimum of 7 days. Once that 7 days expires, we may extend that for a period of time or we may take it down. Once that job comes down, you no longer have access to that job description. So then you're going to have to reach out to the hiring manager or the recruiter. Now, are we going to provide it to you? We are, but we may not get back to you for 24 hours or something like that. So a best practice, I think, just regardless of who you're applying with, is to go ahead when you do apply and download that job description so you have it saved. Questions. So we'll talk a lot about this, but make a list of, anywhere from 3 to 5 questions that you have about the job, the hiring manager, the people you would work with, the company. And again, we'll go into some further detail about that. Have your story ready. How are you in this, the position you're in currently? If you are looking for a position to start your career, what has your education been like and how did it, lead you to this position? Have your story ready and able to speak to eloquently, and practice those responses. So that really goes into that preparation of role play. Again, I know this is weird to talk to a camera, but practice interviewing in the mirror. Practice with your friends or family via Zoom, FaceTime, Marco Polo, whatever platform you want to use. From a technology standpoint, this is one that we've seen happen multiple times, but Always check your junk and your spam folder for any sort of update or correspondence. I could, correspond with somebody external to the organization multiple times, and then one time one of my communications may go to their junk or spam folder. And it's just really imperative, as you are, applying for jobs, constantly check that junk or spam folder. And when you do interact with someone from the business, add them to your safe senders list. Technology. So test your equipment, your camera, your audio. Is it working? Again, going back to that role play, test it with friends, family. Log in 5 minutes early so you're prepared and you're ready to go. On time, what is it? Early is on time is late. So definitely be prepared, be early. In regards to a background, make sure the lighting is good. Make sure the computer is at eye level. I was joking with Cheryl earlier. My mom, bless her heart, 62 years old. And every time we FaceTime with her, all we see is like her chin and up. So make sure that that's at computer eye level, so that you can really feel like you're face to face with the person you're speaking to. We recommend a white background or just something that doesn't have a lot of distractions in the background. As you can see, I have my office background, but Cheryl, with this being Zoom, you can add a good background. I think it's awesome to use something like a J&J background if you're interviewing with J&J. Put up, a fake, office, whatever it may be. Just make sure it's professional. There's no distractions, something that's appropriate. Additionally, a quiet location. If you've got your cell phone near you, turn it off, the ringer off. If you have notifications that'll come up on your computer, put yourself to do not disturb. Allow the proper time plus some for the interview so that there's no distractions as you're going through everything. When we talk about attire, so I think everybody's seen these funny things where people are, in yoga pants or, maybe no pants at all, doing these digital interviews on like the Today Show or Good Morning America. But make sure you've got a professional attire. Your hair is out of your face. You're not fidgeting with anything. My husband's notorious for flipping pens around when he's on calls. So, anything that you think may distract you, eliminate it so you can completely focus on the interview. We always say, for guys, especially for a sales role, if you're going to go into a practice, you want to, to a doctor's office or a hospital, you want to put your best foot forward. So make sure you have on a jacket, a tie. Women, really just a blouse is perfectly appropriate. If you have a suit jacket, sure. I'm in Florida. It's really hot out. I'm dying as it is, in a t-shirt with the AC on or a blouse. So, as long as you have a professional attire, minimal jewelry, you're good to go. And then following the interview, and again, we'll go into some more detail, send a thank you immediately after your interview. Not everybody does this anymore. And it can make a really big lasting impact to the hiring manager, the recruiter, and really the hiring process. Cheryl, anything to add there?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to just add to the research piece regarding the job description and doing your research. One thing that I noticed that I definitely want to call out that is a huge no-no. We understand that in a lot of cases, there's a lot of organizational changes and a person may be very adamant and very anxious about finding a position. So you're applying to multiple positions. Mm-hmm. I would recommend keeping a list of the positions you've applied to. Don't just haphazardly apply without keeping some kind of tracker. Because what happens is when you get to the recruiter and the recruiter calls you about a position, you don't know which position they're talking about when they start talking to you. You don't remember, and you say, I really don't know which position you're, I've had people say that, and it's just it's not a good thing. So definitely when you're on your job, your quest, and you're looking for a job, be intentional about the jobs that you're applying to. Don't apply to just everything. Make sure that it's relevant to your experience so that you heighten your chances. One little giveaway that I'll share with you is that, and I'm sure Johnson & Johnson is not the only company, when recruiters are reviewing your profiles, we can see all of the different applications that you have. So if I see someone who's applied to 200 jobs, that doesn't give me a very good feeling. They're really not, they're applying to everything. So be intentional and then keep a tracker. So I just wanted to add that in.
That's a really, really good point. And thank you for bringing that up, Cheryl. I echo that statement. We want to make sure that you're focused. If you are unsure, speak, reach out to a recruiter, reach out to Cheryl and I. We can help focus your efforts. But, at the end of the day, you need to know what your path is and what your goal is. So you're focused. Really good point.
Another thing I want to mention, we're very open to exploratory interviews. So if you're not really certain, I will say that Johnson & Johnson is very, very detailed with our job descriptions. So what you see is what it really is. When you call in, you say you want to know more about the position, you have what we have, and that is what the position is. However, if there are other things that you would like to know, we're very happy to speak with you, and even in some cases set you up with a hiring manager to have a 15-20-minute conversation for an exploratory interview.
Mm-hmm.
So just ask, and we're here to help you, and we will.
Absolutely. Great points.
So the STAR method, wanted to bring this up just because in working with our sales leaders, this is probably the #1 method that Stephanie and I and all of our sales recruiters here, our sales leaders use. I'm not certain if any of you have heard of it before. Some of you may be using it in your current roles, but the STAR method is basically sort of an outline or a technique when it comes to answering questions, asking questions. You can use the STAR method in mostly everything you do. So S is for situation, and this is you asking, or a manager asking, what was the situation? Or just you thinking through, what was the situation that you faced or your previous employer faced? T is for task. What tasks were involved in that situation? A is for action. What actions did you take? And then R is for results. What were the results of those actions? So the STAR technique, we wanted to give you an example of what that looked like, okay? So your situation may be that, or let's say you're asked a question. You may be asked a question, how did you recover a loss, okay? You're gonna use the STAR technique to help you take a manager through that situation, right? You're gonna give the situation. May 2020, I discovered I was about to face a significant competitive threat valued at $400,000 annually. My task was to create a solution to overcome the threat before it happened. What actions did you take? Well, the steps that I took included immediate notification to my manager of the threat. I created a specific plan of action. I identified the top 2 key leaders utilizing the product. I met with the key leaders to reinforce the benefits of using the product. And then I requested the key leaders' support to reinforce the value of keeping this product via administration. And then the results, what happened after you made these attempts or you took action. The steps performed resulted in me successfully defeating the threat, saving $400,000 in business. Please let me know if you would like for me to elaborate further. Now, again, the STAR technique can be used in any situation, and we recommend that you think through, and this is prior to the interview, prior to your interview, and we'll get into this a little later. You want to think through potential questions that may be asked. There's certain questions that are bound to be asked. Give me a time when you were successful. Give me a time when you weren't so successful. How did you handle that? So if you use the STAR technique when you're prepping, this will help you flow and not just run on and on and on. That's another thing that we've noticed with some candidates. You're asked a question, and number one, you didn't really think through any examples, so you get stunned and you're just stumped. The worst thing you can do is say, ask me the next question. Can we move to the next question? So take your time to kind of think through. This is a technique for you to kind of prepare yourself, have your situation, your task, your action, and your result. And that is what the manager is looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide, Steph.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's an outline of the STAR technique. One thing that is very important, and I noticed this especially on the sales side, managers love to see bullets. They love you to kind of bullet out. So this is an outline. Again, here's a question. What are you doing? And it's a sample question. What are you doing during the pandemic downtime for personal development? Trust me, you want to write this one down because this is one that you will be asked. Okay, people will want to know, what have you done for personal development during this time? It's been how many months now? So it's a great question, is how you want to answer that. My primary objective is to increase my ability to upsell and expand my customer base, and I focused on the following 3 areas. And then you shoot those 3 areas out. Now you can take this question, or you can take, think of some other examples and think through how you will answer those questions. And then give yourself 3 bullets to kind of share what you've done as your action. Anything to add there, Stephanie?
No, the benefit, and Cheryl hit on this, but I definitely want to stress it. It's just to help keep you structured in your answer, in your thoughts, and the alignment, so you don't carry on. So I think this is a primary example, a perfect example of how to respond to questions.
Especially virtually.
Yeah.
The reason why we're stressing this so much is because I remember when if anyone here has ever gone through the HireVue interview, it's a new process that we put in place where you're asked 3 questions and you answer those questions. It's a pre-screener. A lot of people will respond that they have, when we get to talk to them, that, it's really weird. I'm talking to a computer. If you have your stuff together, and I'm saying stuff, if you have your stuff together and you plan and you prepare and you practice, answers will flow. They'll flow. And we're sharing this outline with you, as Stephanie said, to give you a focal point, to give you a technique to get through, think through your questions, think through your answers, think through your action.
Mm-hmm. So here are some of the common sample interview questions that we've heard from hiring managers over the years use in their interviews. This by no means is like all encompassing, and most managers will pick 3 to 4 questions, behavioral questions, to really ask you. So the one we always hear is, what is your current development plan? So, what is your path currently in your current position? For growth, what are you doing to attribute to that growth? So thinking from the start, what is your situation? What is your current development? What is the task at hand? Well, it's to grow or to expand vertically, horizontally, whatever it may be. What actions are you taking? Well, I'm training with, X, Y, and Z, an executive territory business manager. And then what actions have you, or what results have you achieved from this? Well, I've been able to, I am in the running for a new position, or I am, focused on next steps with my hiring manager. We're meeting, at the end of August to talk to her leader about next steps. So we now have results that we're attaining to. What did you do to overcome XYZ adversity? So what while questions may focus on the good, there's also, we want to test you out and see what happens when things didn't go so well. How did you handle that? What task did you do? What was the outcome? What were the results? How do you work in the face of adversity? I think, 2020 has shown all of us how we need to be agile and do things differently and think differently. So think about the STAR method and answering that question. Another one is just, what was the process you used to overcome your last competitive threat? Again, using the STAR technique, what was the situation? What was the task that you had to deal with? What actions did you take? And what was the result? Did you kick them out? Did they take over your business? What happened there? Another question we hear a lot is just tell me about a time when you had to resolve a conflict with a customer or teammate. I think we would all like to say that everything is very zen with everybody we've worked with, but the reality is there are different people who respond differently to others. So how did you handle that? We're not going to all get along perfectly, but how do you handle it in the face of adversity? How did you handle a situation that did not have a favorable outcome? So again, how did you handle when things didn't go so well? The one thing I'll say there is, keep it, this, you can explain what the situation was and the results that came about it, but keep it positive as much as you possibly can. We've definitely been on interviews or participated in interviews where we've seen that go negative, and that can really change the tune of the whole situation and the whole interview. So while it may not have been favorable, what positive spin can you put on it? Question, what have you done to prepare yourself for this position? Going back to that preparation slide, again, we'll share all this with you all, but what research did you do? Who did you talk to? Who do you know at the company? Who do you know in the same position? What things have you done to prepare yourself in order to take on this position? It may just be that you've gotten to an application, you've gotten through the recruiter screening, and now you're doing a phone screen with the hiring manager. Treat each stage as important as that final interview with an executive. It needs to be concise. Bring your best foot forward in all aspects. And then tell me about a time you've had to overcome an objection to obtain a large sale. Again, going back to that STAR technique, how did you handle it? What did you do? What was the results? And how did you make that, potentially negative objection? Nope, I'm not interested. Nope, I don't need that device. I don't need that script or that product for my patients. How did you overcome that to gain success? Cheryl, anything to add there?
Awesome. No, that was awesome, Stephanie. I do want to highlight a couple of things. If you notice, a lot of these questions kind of leap back to your collaboration, your leadership, just your ability to influence. So just know that you will be asked, those questions. And again, the best thing to do is to just think through and prepare yourself, because the questions will come. And I think, honestly, if you really prepare yourself and think through situations that you've been through, whether good or bad, you're gonna come out on top. Because what's important, remember, that body language and the content. Body language and content. So if you're able to answer questions, and you're able to share your experiences, and you're not stumbling or rambling, it's gonna make or break you. So these are great questions, Stephanie. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
So when we think about your resume, and this is where the STAR technique, we love the STAR technique because you can use it with every aspect of your everything, really. Your resume, your interview, when you're doing things in your personal life, when your husband gets on you, when your wife gets on you, use the STAR technique. So with your resume, when we're talking about your resume, a lot of people ask, should my resume be 1 page? Is it okay if it's 2 pages? I have 3 pages. I have lots of experience. I don't know how to narrow it down. Well, there's several different types of resumes out there. And, basically you want to try to condense it as much as possible. I have a 4-page resume, and I've had to alter it. I have several different resumes, but, I make sure that my information is relevant. If I'm applying to a position, you want to make sure it's relevant. So the first thing, try to condense it to 1 page if possible. You want to include the following: a professional summary, which is uber important. You need to have a vision, just like the company you work for, a mission and a vision. So your summary is your mission. Your summary is your vision. What do you want for yourself? And again, even with that, if you're applying to different positions, don't make your summary about flying airplanes if you're trying to sell medical devices. You need to switch that summary up and make it relevant. And I've seen that a lot of times where you say you want to be an airline pilot and but you're applying to a medical device field sales role. So we want to make sure that you take time to look over your resume, make sure that the summary is relevant to what you're applying to. Make sure that you have your work experience, your dates. Do not leave off your dates. A lot of people leave off dates because they think it's going to date them, but what's thought of is that maybe something has been hidden. I mean, we're going to have to ask anyway, so be transparent. Put the dates there, put your work history there. Be sure to put your accomplishments. We want to know what you've done. Show off, pat yourself on the back, and let us do it too. So managers want to see, what have you done? It's okay to brag on yourself. It's okay to put together that brag book, but definitely list your accomplishments, your education. If you have not completed your degree, please don't put that you have your degree. I've had a recent situation where someone indicated that they had their degree on the resume that they submitted, but then when they submitted the second one, after I was very excited about them, they stated they had 2 additional classes to take. Let's just keep it honest, keep it real. Again, we're going to do whatever we can for you. Also include your additional skills. Again, focus on the most recent and relevant experience. Very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add there, Stephanie?
No, I think that's very succinct, and brings up just really great points. You know, we have a lot of hiring managers, especially on the sales side, that are looking for how did you accomplish, you know, your sales versus quota? How did you finish as a rep? Were you number 10 of 100? Were you number 99 of 100? You know, to Cheryl's point, sell yourself. We don't see that as boasting or cocky or being, you know, bragging. It's fundamentally showing success. So this is something that we have hiring managers. If you were rookie of the year, if you were rep of the year, if you were rep of the month, if you were rep of the week, put it on there. We want to see that success.
Absolutely.
What is it? Jelly of the Month Club popped into my head for a second there. So some resume deal breakers, right? At the end of the day, sales is a competitive market. So don't let small things cost you from getting an interview. Include that summary, to Cheryl's point. You know, make it pointed, make it succinct, make it direct. Make sure that there are no spelling or grammatical errors. If you submit something that you've had time to review, what are you going to do if you are emailing a customer or if you're presenting them a written offer for a contract? We need to see no errors. And truly, there are times where we've eliminated people from consideration. You have all the time in the world to update your resume, make it correct. Make sure that there's not incorrect or missing contact information. We use that in order to contact you. So if the phone number is wrong or you don't have an email address on there, you know, we can't contact you. So make sure that that is accurate. This is a really strong sticking point for me, using an unprofessional email address. I'll age myself a little bit here, but back in the AOL days, we all had screen names that then transformed to our @AOL address. You know, for a professional email, even if you don't use this, you know, to get updates on Gap or Banana Republic, create one just for professional use at a Gmail, you know, a Yahoo, whatever it may be, and make it your name. If your name is Susie Smith, a common name, just put Susie Smith gets hired. Something that, you know, will be professional versus the multitude of unprofessional things we've seen here. Make sure, again, to Cheryl's point, you're not including outdated or irrelevant information. Make sure it's accurate. If you've left a position, that's okay. Then put it there. I think we're in a time where layoffs are happening, and as unfortunate as they are a reality. So we just need to know, if you're not currently with that employer, instead of putting to present, just put, till May of 2020, whatever it may be, but make sure that information is accurate. Again, to the point we stressed earlier, show how you demonstrate and quantify results. Put those accolades on there. Don't be too general. Be concise, have direction, have what you're targeting be there. If you are applying for a med device position, put that your goal is to obtain a medical device position with Johnson and Johnson. Be specific. Using repetitive words or phrases. So sales success is something we see a lot of. Use the little thesaurus and in the Word document to use some words that may mean the same thing, but say it in a different way. And simplify your format. So we use software technology that reviews resumes that brings up a lot of keywords. So sales, medical device, territory manager. And if you have something that aesthetically looks beautiful, it may not pull that information correctly. And at the end of the day, if you were trying to get a sales job, make it so that the format is easy to read, bulleted, and definable. These aren't graphic design jobs. So we don't need something that is formatted to be beautiful. We need something that is readable. Cheryl, anything you want to add there?
I like that. I like what you just said, Stephanie.
Thank you.
I'll have to use them. You make
Yeah.
Awesome. The only call out I want to make is regarding the resume itself. Again, this is just a call out because this happens very frequently. We're all in the business of fast. Mm-hmm. And I know even on LinkedIn, you can quickly apply to a position. And what ends up happening is when you have these really quick, apply now situations, what happens is sometimes your resume comes across as parsed. And when I say that, it is missing critical, it's formatted really crazy. And I should have brought an example for you, but it's formatted in a really weird way. And it does not capture all of your experience. And it kind of jumbles everything together. So if there's any way to double check, maybe send yourself the resume through whatever tool you're using, just send it to yourself. Make sure that it's formatted correctly, or find an email address to send it again. Because I'll tell you, and this is just being very transparent, when we have a lot of candidates, if I get, and I have to speak for myself, if I have 30, 40 resumes and one resume is parsed and I've got really good talent, your resume may get put to the side, because now I have to stop. I have to shoot you an email and try to get your attention and let you know that I have a parsed resume that I can't read and that I won't be sending to the manager. And you may respond or you may not. So now, out of the kindness of my heart, I typically will reach out to candidates, but not everyone will have time to do that. So just make sure that you're checking your sources and your resources and making sure that your resume is coming across like top notch. And all of the work that you have put into that resume, and you're putting it in a system that won't display it the way, that shows the time that you've put in it. So be sure to double check the way your resume is coming across. Because again, that parsed resume will get put to the side a lot of times. So we don't want to limit your chances.
Absolutely. Really great points. This is a sample resume. In Cheryl, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, it's small, so I'm sorry about the small print, but what we did want to do was kind of highlight what we've been discussing all along, making sure that you've got accurate information, the name, this person has a CMR, they've got their address. I know that some people today, I've seen resumes that don't have, some don't have any contact information at all. And I'm not really certain if that's you know, a new style, but if you don't have any contact information, I can't call you. So it's great to know your name, but I'm not going to go on Google and LinkedIn and everywhere else to try to find a contact number. So definitely make sure that your contact information is there. I've noticed that some people don't put their city and state there. I'm not really certain what that means. If if you're open to being anywhere, but all of that these are things that could easily get your resume put to the side if you're not forthcoming with your information. This resume has it has the summary that we talked about. It lists three, places of employment, and it definitely highlights the accolades, as you can see here. So there are lots of great things here. There's the university. We've got when the person started school and finished school and the degree that they obtained. You know, it's a short, sweet resume, and it looks like they use the STAR technique. So yeah. Other than the bullets not being aligned, everything is a go here to me.
Oh, formatting. But I think this just gives you a really good example of what the
Exactly.
content is looking for. So yeah, perfect. So Cheryl, oops.
So everyone's waiting for this email, right? Congratulations, you've been selected to move forward. So now you got the interview. What do you do next? Okay. What we want to do is we want to show you. My X came up too soon, so guys, forgive me for that. Thank you, thank you for taking it away. So this is a pre-interview reply. As you can see here, good morning, Alex. I wanted to formally reach out and thank you for the opportunity to become a part of XYZ sales team as a territory manager. I feel that my background and experience align perfectly with the requirements listed in the job description. My ability to communicate effectively, build solid relationships, and influence key opinion leaders will help me thrive in this role. I have attached an updated resume to highlight my successes. I look forward to the interview. Okay. So the reason why, you can let the X rip now. So the reason why this is not the ideal, it's great that the person took the time to send a pre-interview reply, but it could be better. There's a fat paragraph sitting here, and there's just not much thought there. So Stephanie, can you show us what this should look like?
Yes. So this is the good one. I'm also going to preemptively say we've talked about being agile. My neighbor's lawn service is here, so I'm going to possibly mute myself when he comes by with his lawn stuff and unmute myself when it's done to prevent you all. So again, being agile, things happen right now. But going back to this reply, we love this, right? It shows that you put thought to it. It shows you're passionate about the position. It shows that you are aligning your experience to match what the job description shows. And you speak to skills, you speak to the work ethic, and it shows that you believe you're the perfect match for this. I also like that this adds, I've attached an updated resume. At the end of the day, yes, you've attached your resume to, the application. There is no rule that says every communication cannot include your resume, because there are multiple times where we'll see something and maybe we forward it to the hiring manager, or if you communicating to the hiring manager, whatever that communication, may look like, it's if you constantly are adding your resume, then we don't have to go back and search for it. And it just goes to show preparation, thought, and consideration. It also restates that, the commitment of that Tuesday, July 28th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this just really goes to show, yes, the original reply was fine. But again, in a competitive market, structuring your resume, structuring your pre-interview reply to be formatted appropriately is just going to catapult you to that top candidate.
Absolutely. And guess what, guys? What was used here? The STAR technique, okay? So just keep that in mind with everything you do. The STAR technique works. It's amazing. All right, so let's talk about deal breakers during the interview, okay? Now, when we're when we're doing digital interviews, just be mindful there is a camera there, okay? So we don't want you to conduct your interview from the following: your bed, okay? And you would be surprised. Some people get in bed and they, shirtless, hair like this, and they try to conduct their interview. Well, don't lay down in your bed. Don't get in your bed. Don't sit on your bed. Act as if you're going into an office. Create a really comfortable and professional space for yourself to conduct your interview. Your car, and I'll highlight your car and in headphones. We asterisk those two just because in certain situations, yes, you may have to be in your car. In certain situations, you may have to use headphones, but if you ever have to do anything outside of the norm, just make sure that you make your panel or the hiring manager or whoever will be interviewing, make them aware that you have, a certain situation where you may have to be in your car. You have no other time or no other privacy. But the preference is to create a time and space that is solely peaceful and quiet and solely focused on your interview. So if you can, no car, try not to use headphones unless you have to, definitely in appropriate attire. If you're in a hotel room, make sure that the bed and all of those things are situated where they're not in view, if at all possible. Okay. Other call outs are going to be for you to be early. Be early, be prepared. Stephanie mentioned earlier in your preparation, especially with technology today, you want to log in 5-10 minutes early just to make sure that you do a sound check, make sure that you can see yourself, and you can always see what you look like. This is what you're going to look like when you're sitting in front of that manager. So be early, be prepared. There should be no technology issues. Give yourself time to figure it out if just in case there may be. You always want to exude very high energy, not the coffee energy, but just very high energy and interest and excitement about the role. Always display passion. Managers look for passion. I look for passion when I'm interviewing. I want to hear the passion. Why do you want this role? What's important to you? What's important to you about this role and this work? So exuding high energy, interest. Definitely no negative talk about a current or former employer. I get that a lot. People will start drifting into, if I ask them why they want to leave the position they're in, they'll drift into, what happened at their employer. Keep it peaceful and keep it professional and keep it, we want you to be transparent. We want you to be, open and talk through things, but there can't be there has to be some positive moments from your past employer. We want to focus on the positive, okay? Always focus on the positive. Always ask questions. Never leave an interview without asking questions. And always stay humble, always. Stephanie?
I mean, I think these are all just really spot on. I said this earlier, but I can't stress enough to stay humble, especially in a digital interview where you're just recording your responses. Be confident, don't be cocky. Be humble about your successes, that you've had, but do it in a manner that is appropriate and with consideration.
Absolutely.
So done the interview. Now, ABC, everybody knows this from a sales perspective, always be closing. Leave that interview with the certainty that you're the right candidate for the job, that there's no questions asked. So first, make sure you've answered all their questions. Don't be afraid to say, may I ask you a few questions before we end the interview? They'll tell you, I'm sorry, I have another call in 5 minutes. Or, no, actually, I'm free for the end of the day. Let's do it. Let them tell you no. Don't leave without all of your questions answered. If you need to schedule a follow-up, you can do that.
Absolutely. Secondly, you want to prepare a closing statement that sums up your suitability for the job. Um, don't leave without this. You know, this is just as important as asking questions. You want to prepare a closing statement. So definitely this comes in preparation. It can be the same closing statement each and every interview, but make sure you have something to say that sums up your being the right candidate for the job.
And then confirm that you've addressed all the interviewer's questions. Is there anything else you'd like me to clarify? You know, for me, it takes it back to being in sales and going in front of a doctor or an administrator. You know, you don't want to leave a sales call without making sure that their questions are answered, or them saying, yeah, that was great, but they never really addressed XYZ. So make sure that all concerns are clarified.
Again, express your enthusiasm for the opportunity to interview, and for being considerate for the position. You know, time is the one thing that we can never get back. So just understand that just like you've, you know, created time and set aside time to go through the process, the manager has too. So we want to be respectful of each other's time, but we want to definitely show enthusiasm. You know, if you don't want the opportunity, don't go through the interview. If you really want it, act like you want it, you know?
Yeah.
So, and showing that enthusiasm is really critical.
Yeah, such a great point. And then ask about the next steps in the hiring process. My direct manager and Cheryl's, one of the managers we report to, he's just known for his isms. And he always says that recruiting in the interview process is like dating. You would never go to dinner with somebody and then at the end go, cool, have a great life, unless it went really bad. More than likely, it would be, hey, you know, you're establishing next steps. Either, hey, you know, may I call you? Hey, do you want to go, you know, to this event next Friday? Again, pre-COVID, or just, you know, do you mind if I reach out to you? Or I never want to see you again. This was terrible, but at least you know where you stand. Ask about the next steps in the hiring process.
Great points, Stephanie. Yeah. I love it. Lastly, definitely thank the interviewer, making confident eye contact, even with the camera, making that confident eye contact and state that you look forward to hearing back soon. All of these things are very, very important. So ABC, always be closing.
Mm-hmm. Great points. Okay, next slide. So here are just some sample questions that you can ask. By no means do we think you should have 7 or more questions to follow up with. I think the guideline really is 3 to 5. It's just about the same amount that the hiring manager would ask you. So I'd say the first, I'll cover the first 4. So what are the top 3 traits of the most successful rep on your team? And going back to that STAR method, I've seen this utilized really successfully by then stating how you may apply to those top 3 traits. So maybe they say, you know, it's appropriately aggressive, clinically sound, and organized. Mm-hmm. Then how do you relate to those? Answer that back to them. Second sample question that you could ask is, how many accounts does your average rep cover? I think this just shows fortitude to talk about, you know, how many you may cover. Does that match? Is that less? Is that more? How would you handle X a number of accounts that average rep covers? Again, putting yourself in that shoes futuristically, to show that, you know, you're the right candidate for this job. Can you share what a typical day of an account manager looks like? Again, this will help identify, you know, what does good look like? You know, is a lot of windshield time? Are you in the car a lot? Is it a small territory with multiple call points? What does that look like? And then what are your primary expectations of your account managers? That's going to vary to hiring manager to hiring manager. Yes, you know, as an organization, we are J&J, but a hiring manager for Janssen in Seattle may be different from a hiring manager in DC for Janssen. So what does that, the expectation of the hiring manager? Cheryl?
Yeah. So, next question. Do you feel my experiences and skill set align with the profile you're seeking for this position? Now, more than likely, your, the skill set got you the interview. Your skill set and everything is aligned, but it's okay to reconfirm that with the hiring manager, because after you've had that conversation, this is when you've revealed additional information. And so it could be that, something's slightly off, or that you're right on point. But our goal here is to keep confirming with the manager that things are moving forward for you. Um, the next one, what would make you comfortable with hiring me today? You're imposing some tougher questions on the hiring manager now, so you're really kind of flipping the script. However, before you leave that interview, you'll have some indication of where you stand, or you should. Now, I will say that some managers are, depending on where they are in the process, um, and then sometimes you just can't tell. Sometimes you may not be able to tell. But these are questions that can get you a little bit closer to confirming where you stand and how well you're doing. Lastly, could you offer me any feedback regarding how I can be more effective when interviewing? This is a very critical question in my eyes, because everyone, if you've been on your job for 5, 6, 7 years, you haven't interviewed in a while. So, um, getting some feedback, showing the manager that you really do care about how he or she is thinking about how you're doing in this interview. Um, they will give you that feedback. So go in with an open mind, open to constructive criticism if there's any, and just, again, take it with a grain of salt, but take that feedback. And if there's anything that you need to work on, I always say, take it. And I'm a competitor, so I've competed for what, 6, 7 years now, and to be told, not to get that first place over and over and over again, the first thing I would do is head down to the judge's station and ask for a critique. I want my feedback. What did I do? What do I need to work on? Because I'm getting this. I'm going to keep going. And I'm saying that as well because I get a lot of, and all of us as recruiters, we'll get people say, well, I've applied and nothing's happening. Understand that when you apply, you're not the only one applying. These roles are in very high demand. So we do have overwhelming amounts of people that are applying to these roles. But if you build your relationships, go on LinkedIn, build your relationships. When you meet with a manager, do ask for his or her information. Build relationships with the people in the field. If you're working or you see people with J&J who are working in the same facilities that you're working in, connect, bond, build relationships, and they will refer you. They'll see your work, you see their work, and you'll get referred. But it's critical to take that feedback and to work on whatever those items are, and then come back and say, if you have the opportunity, these are the things that I've done. So don't be afraid to take that feedback and do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Really, that's a really great point. So follow up. So again, we talked about this earlier, but immediately following your interview, follow up with an email thanking the interviewer, the panel, whoever it is, for taking time to meet with you. When you're closing, I think it's always good to ask for the contact information. I think in the digital interview or the virtual world, we're not able to obtain a business card, right? So make sure that you've got the contact information to follow up. If you don't get it and you forget, it's okay. Go back to the recruiter or go back to that, that email that you received and utilize that. The recruiter can tell you, or if the hiring manager is really, for whatever reason, it's just a quick phone screen that we've set up. If they're not comfortable with giving the email information, which usually does not happen, forward your thank you to the recruiter. The recruiter will get it to them. Again, that's really worst case scenario.
Absolutely. Another thing that's really critical is to highlight relevant parts of your conversation and recap any specific examples. that you can remember from that conversation, which shows the manager that there is a real true interest there, and that you were actually listening, that you were paying attention, and that you took some things away from the conversation.
Yep. And again, back to that, always be closing. Ask for next steps in the hiring process. Based on our conversation today, you said a next step would be set up next week. I look forward to speaking to you. And next week, can you confirm if Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday is best for your schedule? Be appropriately aggressive. Ask for that business just like you would in a sales call. So this is, don't need to go through all this, but in detail, but again, a good example that we'll share out of a post-interview email. Again, focusing on that STAR technique, going through, thanking them for their time, reiterating your interest, reiterating why you're a good fit, and next steps.
I will add here, this email is very important. It's a very, very important email. I have been down to, let's say I've gotten down to 3 finalists, and a manager will make a decision based on who followed up. Mm-hmm. So this can make or break. So always send a post-interview email. Mm-hmm. Do not wait a day later. Do it the same day that you interview, the exact same day. Don't mm-hmm. wait a day, 2 days. A decision could have been made. So correct. When you get home or you get to a place where you can send that post-interview, I would already have it drafted if it were me, but have that already ready to go and send it right away, same day.
Yeah. The only thing I'll add here again is that it reiterates back to how are you going to be in front of customers? Mm-hmm. Are you going to be the type of representative for the organization that thanks people for their time, thanks people for the opportunity to possibly do business? This is what it shows for you. How are you going to be in front of customers?
Absolutely. So what we want to do here is definitely invite you to join our global talent community. We're sharing the link with you here, Stephanie.
Yeah, so this is a great way. If you're not already registered in our Talent Hub, again, we'll forward, Taylor's going to help forward this out to everybody and provide this information. You can obviously write it down and follow up on it. But this, as a member of the global talent community, you can actually customize your job matches. So if you want to be in the DC area, you don't need to get job notifications about Seattle, Washington. So you can customize your job matches. You'll be sent information about innovations, breakthroughs at a time where, as a healthcare technology company, we're constantly providing information on a vaccine for COVID. Even if that's not your area, what is DePuy doing? What is what are our med device companies doing at this time? What breakthroughs are they doing? So it's important to get that information. So definitely encourage you, if you already haven't, to join this. And then as a follow-up, our email addresses are here. How can we help you? What questions can you answer? Can we answer? Just how can we help you in your career, especially as, members of NSN. This is such an important partnership for us, so we want to be there to help.
All right, guys, time for questions and feedback. Let's go to the chat box.
And I'll actually go back to this screen so that y'all can see it if you need it.
I actually have some questions ready to go. So we have a question. Does it matter if you have applied to a lot of positions over a span of time, i.e. a few years? There's one company I really would like to work for and have applied for many positions for over the past 5 or 6 years. Should I give up?
I'll take that one, Stephanie. Absolutely not. Never, ever give up. I mean, never, never give up. I will say, if you've applied to positions over a span of time, I mean, all of us have, right? You've applied to positions. The key here is, have you engaged with anyone? Have you gotten a call back from a recruiter? Have you gone through an interview? That would be my follow-up question to you. If you've never spoken to anyone, it's time for you to get creative. There may be, something within your resume where you're not appearing as strong of a candidate as some of the other applicants. It does not mean that you are not the right fit or have the experience that's needed, but you'll have to talk to someone in order to figure that out. So I would say get creative, start reaching out. Number one, you've got myself and Stephanie. We can give your resume a look over and see if there's anything in particular that that stands out that might not get you or help you to rise to the top when we're reviewing talent. You can also reach out to colleagues that work for Johnson & Johnson that are in the field and start connecting. That is one of the best ways. People are here to help. And trust me, they get a really good referral fee for referring talent. So you may want to connect with these guys and girls and have them refer you, kind of connect with them, talk about the day in the life of, of their work in the field and just build a relationship. But definitely reach out to myself and Stephanie. Let us look at your resume and see what might be causing you not to be selected if you have not received a call or an interview.
Mm-hmm. So another question we have, and this came up both on Facebook and here, is brag books. So are brag books still a thing, or are they a thing of the past since most companies are doing virtual interviews? If not, how do you suggest we use them during a virtual interview?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'll say it, and then Cheryl, if you want to add anything. I think that's a great question. I think you still, again, on your resume are going to have those sales accolades, but things like letters of recommendation, showing sales results, things like that, you want to document on that. Since we're not physically meeting with people right now, is there a way to digitize that? Is it a way to put your LinkedIn information and put some of your, documents or anything? Can you scan everything and put it into a PDF? And that way it shares the brag book. I'll be honest, I have managers who love it and they want it. And I have managers who can just talk to it. So at the end of the day, more is, it's always better to have more ways of showing your attributes, your successes, in your the ways that you have are attractive as a potential candidate.
I love that, Stephanie. Just to chime in and piggyback on that, that's exactly where I was going to go with that. Digitize it. Digitize it. Digitize it. Creativity is very, to me, very critical now because we can't get in the front of a manager. Being creative when you do get in front of that manager and to share with them, the work that you've done in a digital format. Do you know the volumes that would speak? Yeah. So no matter what you're thinking about brag books being a thing of the past, don't let the digital space or this virtual lifestyle, don't let it cripple you or make you feel like, okay, well, we can't do this anymore. Get creative. Mm-hmm. I would totally make a digital brag book and send it along once I'm, once I'm contacted for that interview. Mm-hmm. That speaks volumes that look at what you've done with what you have. I love it.
I know a lot of times I'm not quite there yet with my technical abilities, but you can create like a shared drive where, you can do like a Dropbox or something like that and put it on your resume where you could have access to the different documents. So if you can't condense it to a PDF, that's, is good. You could do something like a Dropbox.
I love it.
I just thought of that.
Thank you.
That was a great question, whoever asked that.
Really good question. So another question from Facebook, when answering your STAR question format, should you stay with what is on your resume or specifically use examples not on your resume?
Either or. Mm-hmm. The key here is preparation. Create, and I'm assuming you're saying if your manager is asking you questions.
Yes.
You don't necessarily have to use what's on your resume. Typically, if a manager asks a question, you know, a technical question, and they're just asking, or behavioral question, trying to find out how you handle the situation. You know, it's typically, unless they say something current, you can use any experience. You know, any example from any of your work experience.
Mhm.
So it doesn't have to be on your resume. Stephanie, do you see that differently?
No, I completely agree. Completely agree.
Awesome. Another question. This will be my last one just for the sake of time. And any other questions that you all have, you can either roll them up to myself at president@nsnchicago.org or email Stephanie and Cheryl directly. Another question I have is, I have over 10 years of pharmaceutical sales and access experience for both contracts and direct hire positions. Why do recruiters and hiring managers frown upon contract sales representatives? Contract reps go through the same training.
Mhm. I mean, I'd be remiss to say that, you know, contract is poor in any sense. You know, what are we looking for? Job stability? Yes. Are we looking for growth within a resume? Yes. Do we use contractors for our sales positions? Yes. Is that how sometimes a pipeline into the organization to Johnson and Johnson comes in play? Yes. So it's definitely not frowned upon. I think, you know, the purpose there is really just to explain, you know, I took this contract position to get my foot in the door. Unfortunately, the contract did not renew. So then I took this position. As long as, again, back to that point of preparation, you can tell your story. And that's maybe where you do have to get a little finesse and reach out to someone and have them become that advocate. Find someone who can bring you a referral. We hire contractors all the time. So I definitely, you know, don't agree that it's necessarily frowned upon. You just need to make sure that you're clarifying and providing further insight. Cheryl?
Yeah. So a lot of managers that I speak with, when, you know, we have the conversations regarding contractors. So it really just depends. Everyone's situation is very different. If you have been contracting for years and years and years and years, that kind of indicates that you really don't want anything permanent, or there's something about contract work that you favor. So, you know, if you're looking for something permanent, you would need to just share that story. Why now would you want a permanent full-time role when you've worked contract all of your life? What makes you want something permanent at this time? And then vice versa. You know, so it's really about getting the opportunity to paint that picture and to tell your story. Now, I will give you a recommendation. Johnson and Johnson, depending on which business you're going after, we do have some contract agencies that we use in particular. So what I would do, because we specifically hire from those agencies, the key here is to talk to myself and Stephanie, give us more information about what business you're looking to join within the family of companies with J&J, and let us get you connected with that external agency that we pull contractors from. IQVIA, I'll tell you, for one, is an agency that we use, that we pull contractors from. We have a great reputation, a great relationship with IQVIA. We know the work of their folks. They know what to send us, and that's who we pull talent from. So you may be, you know, it's another contract role for at least a year until we see what your ability is, but it's a sure way to get in. So I would even take that route. But let us take a look at your resume. Let us, you know, take a look at how long you've done contract work and see where if there is a disconnect, where that might be, and how we can help guide you in the right direction. We're happy to do that.
Thank you so much. Stephanie, if you want to switch everything back to me, I can give some closing remarks. Again, if you all have any additional questions, feel free to contact our host directly, or you can always email me. So with that, I'll say thank you to both Cheryl and Stephanie. This was amazing. You shared a lot in terms of the whole process when it comes to a virtual interview. So I know myself our guests, our members. We greatly appreciate it. So thank you for leading us in this. I can't wait to hear all the feedback in terms of testimonies that people are going to share with us after attending this workshop and just feeling better prepared and more comfortable from the tips and tricks that you were able to share today. So again, if you all have any questions or want to learn anything else about National Sales Network Chicago chapter or any of our other partner chapters, we cover over 19 different cities. Feel free to reach out to myself directly. If you have any questions, please contact Stephanie and Cheryl as it relates to J&J. Again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you at our next event, which will be hosted by Granger on August the 18th. So thank you again, ladies.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.